Imagine waking up to headlines saying the Pentagon can't build its fighter jets, its submarines, or its missile guidance systems, all because China decides to turn off a single tap switch that doesn't fire a missile, doesn't launch a drone, doesn't move a ship. It could still paralyze the entire U.S. military in a way no adversary has ever done before. That switch is rare earth magnets, and today, the world's largest supplier, China, may be preparing to squeeze access to these critical materials for American defense manufacturers. The question is this a warning shot? Or the first move in a much larger geopolitical war? Act 1. The shockwave behind the headlines. Recent reports indicate that Beijing is examining new restrictions on the export of high-performance rare earth magnets to companies connected to the U.S. defense sector. These aren't ordinary metals. These magnets, like neodymium iron boron NDFE, magnets are the silent backbone behind some of the most advanced military systems on Earth. F-35 fighter jet motors, Virginia class, submarine sonar systems, JDAM and cruise missile actuators, drone propulsion units, guidance and targeting electronics, in other words. Without these magnets, much of the U.S. military's cutting-edge technology simply doesn't function. So when China signals that it may limit who can buy them, and especially restrict buyers linked to the American military, the consequences shake Washington from the Pentagon to the White House. 2. Why this isn't just another supply chain issue. This isn't about simple trade friction. It's about geopolitical leverage, and China knows exactly how valuable that leverage is. Here are the numbers. China controls over 80% of global rare earth magnet production. The U.S. imports over 90% of its rare earth magnets from China. There are almost no large-scale American facilities producing military-grade magnets today. So if China says stop, the Pentagon cannot easily say we'll get them somewhere else. There is nowhere else, at least not immediately. This gives Beijing a pressure point that is non-military, deniable, economically powerful. Exactly the type of leverage great powers love. 3. A familiar pattern. China makes deals, and breaks them. Analysts who have studied China's negotiation style warn that Beijing has a consistent pattern. Agree gives delay, gives reinterpret, gives renegotiate. This pattern has shown up repeatedly. The fentanyl precursor chemicals issue China pledged to crack down on precursor exports. Yet Mexican cartels continued to obtain massive quantities from Chinese suppliers with little real enforcement. The Phase 1 trade deal, Beijing agreed to major purchases of U.S. goods, about $500 billion worth over time. In reality, it fell short by more than $200 billion. Technology transfer agreements. Repeatedly, China has committed to certain conditions only to reinterpret or reverse them later. So when China previously signaled it would widen access to rare earth materials and now appears to be tightening them again, defense experts say, this is not a surprise, it's a pattern. And this time, the stakes are far higher.
4. Why rare earth magnets matter more than the metals themselves?
People often hear rare earth elements and think of raw materials. But here's the catch. It's not the raw minerals that matter. It's the magnets. The value isn't in digging the metals out of the ground. It's in the processing, refining, and especially the precision magnet manufacturing. China dominates. Refining of rare earth oxides, separation of individual rare elements, chemical processing. Alloy production centered, magnet manufacturing, high temp, defense-grade magnet creation. This isn't a simple supply chain. It's a multi-stage industrial ecosystem. China has been building since the 1990s, while the rest of the world largely ignored it. The result? The United States can dig rare earth, or cannot build enough magnets. Not yet. That makes Beijing's move a strategic weapon, not a trade decision. 5. The Pentagon's worst-case scenario. If China restricts exports to companies tied to the U.S. military, the impacts could be severe. Production delays, aircraft engines, missile guidance units, and advanced radar systems require these magnets. Defense contractors may face slowdowns lasting months or years. Higher costs. Building a supply chain from scratch is extremely expensive. The Pentagon may face billions in unexpected costs. Strategic vulnerability. A rival nation, controlling critical components for American weapons systems, creates long-term strategic risk. Industrial dependence. The U.S. military has never been this dependent on a foreign nation. especially not one that considers America its main strategic competitor. This is why Washington is suddenly paying very close attention. 6. What analysts think China's real motive is, so why now? Why rare earth magnets? Experts point to several possible motives. A retaliation against U.S. military cooperation in Asia. As the U.S. expands its regional partnerships with Japan, South Korea, the Philippines, and Australia, China may be signaling it is willing to push back economically. B. A warning over Taiwan. By targeting defense-related supply chains, Beijing could be testing how easily it can pressure Washington without military confrontation. C. Bargaining leverage for future negotiations. China may be positioning itself for future trade or geopolitical concessions, using rare earths as a bargaining chip. D. Domestic economic strategy. China wants to ensure its most advanced materials support its own military modernization first. Regardless of the motive, the message is clear. China is willing to weaponize rare earth technology. 7. The U.S. response. Scrambling for alternatives, the U.S. government is not staying silent, and multiple agencies are now working on building domestic mining and processing centers. Companies in Texas and California have begun developing new facilities. Funding magnet manufacturing plants, the Pentagon is supporting private companies to create defense-grade magnet factories. Building alliances with Australia, Canada, Japan, these allies have significant rare earth reserves and processing expertise. Strategic stockpiling, the U.S. may increase its stockpiles of refined rare earths and magnets. But here's the truth. It will take years, not months, for America to catch up. China's head start is measured in decades, not years. 8. A general's perspective. Why this is a red flag, not an attack. Military analysts say China's move is not yet an escalation into conflict, but it is a strategic signal. China is not trying to provoke a war. It is testing how much leverage it has over the U.S. military supply chain and how Washington responds. One retired general described it this way: China doesn't need to fire missiles to weaken us. It can just shut off the supply of magnets and watch our defense industry freeze. This is not a battlefield maneuver. It's a geoeconomic warning shot. 9. Can the U.S. neutralize China's leverage? Eventually, yes, but not quickly, realistically. New mines take 5 to 10 years to become operational. Processing plants take years and billions in investment. High-precision magnet factories require specialized talent that currently exists mostly in China. Environmental regulations complicate U.S. development. China's price competitiveness is extremely difficult to match. This is not a problem that can be solved with one executive order or one presidential term. It is a long-term industrial challenge. But ignoring it could leave the U.S. vulnerable for decades. 10. Why this story matters to you, even if you're not in the military. Rare earth magnets aren't just in missile guidance systems. They're in smartphones, laptops, electric vehicles, medical imaging devices, renewable energy technology, wind turbine generators. If China tightens exports, global technology prices could rise across the board. This isn't just a Pentagon problem. It's a global tech economy problem, and it affects every consumer. 11. The geopolitical reality. The U.S.-China technology chess game. The rare earth magnet issue is just one part of a much larger U.S.-China competition. Microchips, AI systems, quantum computing, naval technology, hypersonic weapons, space technology, both nations are racing for technological dominance. Every advantage matters. Every supply chain is a battlefield, and rare earth magnets are one of China's strongest cards. So here's the real takeaway. China doesn't need to outgun the United States to challenge it. It just needs to control the materials that make American weapons work. Is this the beginning of a new era of economic warfare? A preview of future confrontation? Or just the first sign that the U.S. must rebuild what it allowed China to dominate? If you want to understand how today's technology battles shape tomorrow's geopolitics, make sure you hit subscribe, because our next video dives even deeper into the global power struggle reshaping the modern world. This story isn't over, it's only beginning.